Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel RN Tutorial Zone, and now today's playlist is Java Full Stack course. This is part 1 as concerned. So we all know Java is widely used across the world. There are many frameworks completely depend on Java programming languages like Spring, Spring Boot, AngularJS, Hibernate. So apart from your academics, people who are looking for Java based work environment, they can also refer this video. I'm going to explain some frameworks too after to this academic related things. So this video is especially made for BSc Computer Science students and BTech CSE students thereafter who are looking for jobs on Java base. So let's not wait, let's get into the topic. So what are the outcomes of this session? So you could see I'm going to explain Java introduction and its features. Thereafter OOPS through Java. OOPS is nothing but object oriented programming. Thereafter the fundamental concepts involved in Java like classes, objects, entities, variables, data types, operators, arrays, control flow statements, all those things. Thereafter I am going to explain typecasting, and next to that inheritance, polymorphism, abstractions, data encapsulation, constructors, thereafter garbage collection in Java. So you're gonna learn this all. So firstly, introduction to Java. So Java is a general purpose programming language like C and C++, but widely used across the world, which is useful for them. So it was designed by Jim Goslings and was developed at Sun Microsystems, but now it is acquired by Oracle Group. You could see, you can Google it. Thereafter, why only Java is preferable? Nothing but programmers love to do easily. That's why Java goes to their head. That's the reason most of the people uses Java programming language as their stream. So the main reason behind this is it is quite simple and easy to understand. So what are the features of Java? I think you all know Java features are object oriented, it has good memory management, and it is both compiled and interpreted, platform independent, good in exception handling. Exceptions are nothing but runtime errors. Thereafter it supports multi-threading. I'll let you know what is multi-threading. Thereafter its performance is very high. Thereafter it is very secured compared to other programming languages. So I'll explain in brief about this. Firstly, what is object oriented? So in Java, every entity is treated as an object which is having states and behavior. So nothing but entity is nothing but like student. If it takes student, his ID number, his marks, his address, all these are like its states and behavior. So entity is nothing but object. So object oriented is nothing but it's completely based on object concept. Thereafter it has good memory management because of JVM. JVM stands for Java Virtual Machine, which looks after garbage collection in Java. I'll let you know at the end of this video why it is good in memory management. So next to that, it is both compiled and interpreted. Like why? Because in C we use compilation, in Python we use interpretation for translation, whereas in Java we use both of them. That's the reason. So the data, the output we get is it can support any kind of flavor of environment, like it can support any kind of operating systems like Windows or iOS or your Linux. So you could see. Next one, platform independent. So platform independent is nothing but it can run on any kind of environment. I just told you before, as the compiler computes this data to bytecode, this bytecode can be run on any kind of operating system. I just told you before, it can be Windows or iOS or your Linux. So next to that, it is good in exception handling. I just told you before, exception is nothing but runtime error. So these kind of situations can be handled very nicely in Java. Thereafter, it supports multi-threading. I just told you before, multi-threading is nothing but executing multitasks simultaneously at the same time. So this can be done using Java. If you want to be Java full stack developer, you should learn all the frameworks related to Java like AngularJS or Hibernate or JDBC, all these things. And next to that, I just told you before, security is one of the features of Java. Java is fully secured due to its virus free and tamper free systems. So unauthorized users can't access this Java data. So that's the reason Java is fully secured. Thereafter, high performance. Coming to performance, Java is widely used in IT sector, as we all know. The reason behind this is due to JITs. JITs are nothing but just-in-time compilers. So they gives high performance compared to other programming languages. So more than that, it is more effective and dynamic. Comparing to C and C++, it is more effective because it has habit of adapting any kind of evolving environment. Like if you are using Windows, it can adapt to that kind of operating system. If you are using Linux, it can adapt to that kind of environment. That's the reason Java is fully effective and dynamic. So you could see sample program in Java. As we all know, first program could be hello world. So I just did that. So you could see how was the execution, how was the creation. So public class demo, I just take demo as a class name. Thereafter PSVM, nothing but public static void main. Inside that strings args you should mention. Thereafter, so like C we use printf, whereas in C++ we use cout, cin as these things. So in Java we use system.out.println, which are input and output functions. So you could see this is the way you could run your exam, you could run your program. So you can run this program in your IDE tool or can command prompt. IDE tool is nothing but you can use NetBeans for Java, whereas Eclipse also supportive. Coming to C, you can use Dev C++. C++ also can be done in Dev C++. So IDE is nothing but integrated development environment. Thereafter command prompt. Coming to command prompt, you could see if you search for CMD, you could see command prompt. You can run any kind of programs on that. But comparing to this, this both, IDE tool is a better one. So you better go with NetBeans or Eclipse. So as we all know before, I think we saw variables in C or C++. Variables are nothing but name of reserved area. If I want to give value 15 to A, then I just write A equals to 15 and I mention its data type. So that's the way we define variables in Java. You also know this. So what are the different types of variables we have in Java? Like local variable, instance variable, static variable. You will get to know what are this. Thereafter, data types. Data types are nothing but it specifies what kind of size should we give or what kind of data it is. If you are working with integers, we just mention int. If we are working with the characters, we just mention char. So that's the way. Nothing but it specifies the type of the data and how much size should it acquire. So coming to Java, there are two kinds of data types in Java. We can say namely primitive data types, non-primitive data types. Coming to primitive data types, it can be like our basic data types. So it can be boolean or char or byte or short or int or long or float. I'll explain in detail. So primitive data types in Java, you could see there are 8 basic primitive data types are there, like boolean data type, byte data type, char data type, short data type, int, thereafter long, thereafter float, there are double. So we all know boolean is nothing but the output may be true or false, that's it. Coming to byte, nothing but these are used for bits kind of languages. so it stores the data in bits, zeros and ones. Whereas coming to character type data type, nothing but alphabetic values. Short is nothing but a short integer, whereas int somehow longer than short. Coming to long, it is much more longer than int. There are specific ranges for these data types. I couldn't mention them in this video, but you can refer your text for these things. Thereafter, float is nothing but we use this for decimal values. Coming to double, double is a very large number, but we can use decimals also in this. So what is typecasting in Java? Typecasting is nothing but conversion of one data type to another kind of data type. Nothing but there are two types of typecastings, namely implicit conversion and explicit conversion. We also call this widening casting, narrowing casting. So coming to widening casting, we just converse small data type to larger data type. Like if you take byte as your data type, which is a smaller one, we can convert this byte to float or double, which is longer one. So converting this kind of smaller data type to a larger data type, we call this widening casting or implicit conversion. Next to that, narrowing casting is nothing but larger type to smaller type. It's quite opposite to widening casting. So that is how typecasting goes in Java. Now coming to control flow statements. I think you people already aware of control flow statements. There are if family, switch family, jump family. So if refers to be if else, nested if else if. So switch, we use case here. Coming to jump, there are three kinds of control flow statements, preferably break, continue, return. So I think you people already aware of if family, which uses specific conditions and else statements. Whereas coming to switch, switch is nothing but it doesn't allows duplicating. So that's the reason we use switch in Java. Coming to jump, jump is nothing but if you specify condition. So coming to break, there are numbers like if you specify I equals to 1 to 10, if you specify condition I less than or equal to 5, it's just stop at 5 and it's just print up to 4, like 1 2 3 4 will be output. Whereas coming to continue ignores the condition number, like if I less than or equal to 5, it ignores 5 and it prints 1 2 3 4 6 7 8 9 10. It ignores only 5. Coming to return, it returns kind of data type. Coming to OOPS, I just told you before, OOPS is nothing but object oriented programming concept. So you could see the various terms involved in OOPS, like object, class, inheritance, abstraction, polymorphism, encapsulation. So I just told you before, class and objects revolves around the real life entities. I let you know. Coming to class and object, there you could see the definition of class. A class is a user defined blueprint from which objects are created. So class is user defined type. So it's nothing but it represents set of properties or methods that are common to all objects of one type. So class can have different variables, different methods, so and different objects too. Coming to class declaration, must be contain the class keyword and the name of the class that you are defining. So nothing but we should mention class, like I'll show you. So if you are coming to syntax, I just specified class before the class name, like the class name is name of class, so I just specified class before that. That is nothing but its syntax. So you should specify always class. So I took one example here, class Nani. So Nani is the name of the class, but I specified class keyword before that. Then I could understand this is class name. So one more thing to notice is class name must start with capital letters. Like I just started Nani, so which is the starting letter is N. So I just took capital letter. So coming to object, in Java every entity is treated as an object which is having state and behavior. State is nothing but like if I took fan as example, so fan is an object. Let us take fan is an object. Its state can be said like its price or its worth or its color. Like if I took my fan is black color or else white color or else black or else red color. These all are states of the fan. Whereas coming to behavior, what's the work of fan? Nothing but rotation. So whether it is rotating or not, this is comes under behavior. So I took fan as an object. You can also take a light, whether it's working or not, a book, whether it's working or not, a book, the ignore book, if you take a pen, whether it's writing or not. So these all are the real life objects we could find. Now you could see instantiation of objects. So creation of objects is nothing but instantiation of objects. So you could find examples and syntaxes over there. So I took like how to instantiate object, nothing but just use keyword new. Like if you take I took example as public class car. Okay, so when I'm going deep into the program, public class string name, thereafter I just gave SOOP, nothing but system.out.println. I just pass name is something else, name to be added next to that. So I'm just show you. So this is where I am creating my object. So puppy, my car, equals to new car of beast. So I am specifying my name as beast. So here I am instantiating my object with the keyword new, you could notice. So car was my class name. So you could notice the object that I was created is my car. So this is the way you have to create your objects in the program. Yeah. So now coming to most important concept in Java is inheritance. So inheritance is nothing but inheriting data from your existed class. Like if you have grandfather or grandmother, if you have some similarities or if you are familiar with them, we just call you inherited from him, or like. So inheritance is nothing but deriving data from one class to other. So there will be parent classes and child classes. So always child classes adopt like absorb data from their parent classes. So there are different inheritance types. There are 5 in number. So they are single level, multi-level, multiple, hierarchical, hybrid. So single level is nothing but deriving a new class from a single base class. So one parent, one child. Thereafter coming to multi-level, deriving a new class from already derived class, nothing but one parent and he has a child. Thereafter that child got again one more child, nothing but grandfather, father, son. And next to that, multiple inheritance, nothing but deriving a new class from multiple base classes, like mother and father, they just gave one child class. So this is the example for multiple inheritance. Next coming to hierarchical, deriving multiple child classes from single base class. So single parent, multiple childs, like son or daughter. Next coming to hybrid, it is nothing but combination of multiple and multi-level. I'll just show you how this is working. I'll explain inheritance in brief after few slides. So coming to fourth one, abstraction. Abstraction is nothing but hiding unnecessary information or implementation details from external use. Nothing but if you use your ATM, what you do over there, nothing but whether you withdraw your money or you check your balance, nothing but you just do your work. Coming to have you ever see how this ATM works, all these things? No, we don't need that. We just enjoy what are the what are the benefits they give. So that is the ATM is for withdrawing money or checking balance, so we just do that and comes to our home. So we don't need all the basic needs, basic details about ATM. So we don't know them, we just enjoy the upper level works. So this is how abstraction goes. So the ATM let not us know what is the information of that ATM, but it just gives information about ourselves, that's it. Coming to polymorphism, polymorphism is nothing but an object exhibits multiple behaviors is called polymorphism, nothing but. So coming to, let us take vehicle as a vehicle as one class. So vehicle refers to be, it can be car, bike, bus, train, aeroplane, it can be more. Bank refers to be, there are a lot of banks like SBI, HDFC, ICICI. Animals can be wild animals, domestic animals, like the way polymorphism nothing but an object that exhibits multiple behavior. Here the object is vehicle, but it has multiple behaviors like cars, bikes, buses. So we can call cars as vehicles, bikes as vehicles, bus as vehicle. So this is the confusion when we use polymorphism. So coming to encapsulation, the image you could see, the image itself says as nothing but I just kept a wrapped GIF, nothing but wrapping up of data and methods of an object into a single unit is called encapsulation. So I just wrapped GIF pack into one GIF, I just wrapped the thing into one GIF pack. That's the way encapsulation goes on. If you have a capsule with you, I mean medicine with you, there are more small chemical units are there, they got encapsulated into single capsule, that's why we call it capsule. So nothing but wrapping up of data, ignore these all. Encapsulation is nothing but wrapping up of data to hide our information. So now we have methods. Methods are nothing but, as we all know, methods are functions. So in Java, method is a collection of statements and commands which are used to run a particular task. So types of Java methods. Java methods can be standard library methods, user defined methods, standard library methods. So standard library methods, nothing but methods that are given by or a default IDE or libraries. So standard library methods can be, I just kept two examples here. Print is a method in Java, square root is a method in Java. So when you use square root method, it gives mathematical computation, like it gives square root of given numbers. If you come to print, it's nothing but it prints the data. So there are more standard library methods, I just kept two just for awareness. Now coming to second one, user defined methods. User defined method are nothing but the name itself we could find which were defined by user. So Java method is a block of statements or commands which are used to run a particular task, you could see. So sometimes we need as a statistics students, I may need computation like averaging. There may be different averages like positional averages, relational averages. So I use different techniques. So in order to write code again and again, it's like somehow irritating. That's why I just make a method of average. So I just define myself, it's my user defined method. So that's the way users defines their methods according to them. So Java allows us this feature to work. So here you could see a sample program. You can pause the video and you can see, or else screenshot it for academic use or professional use. So this is how we use methods in Java. You could see. So coming to method overloading and method overriding, sorry. So method overloading is nothing but, in a class we might have different same methods with same names or same number of parameters or same data types or same sequence of data type parameters. So method overloading is nothing but to have more than one method having the same name if their arguments list are different. It is similar to constructor overloading in Java. Constructor overloading, I think you know this before in C++. So it allows us to have more than one methods in a single class. So you could see this method overloading can be three types, when regarding number of parameters, or regarding data type of parameters, or regarding sequence of data type of parameters. So here we go, I'm going to highlight this. So here you could see number of parameters. in the first example you have two parameters inside, whereas coming to second example you have three parameters inside. So this is the way they differ. Next, coming to data type of parameters, here both are int and int, whereas coming to this it's int and float, they differ here. Next, coming to sequence of data types of parameters, so here int comes first and thereafter float, here float comes first and thereafter int. That's the way they got differ. Coming to method overriding, it's nothing but the method overloading is nothing but inside the class having same methods, but here in inheritance you could find both base class and child class having same methods. This can be arises due to method overriding. So let's read this, what is there. So method overriding problem arises in case of inheritance. I just told you before, if both base and derived classes having same methods and same number of parameters and return type, then it can be called as method overriding. So I just told you before, if both classes, both parent and child class having same methods and same number of parameters, then there may be risk of method overriding. So in overriding, generally subclass methods will be executed. Like if there are two classes like class A and class B, then class B methods will execute at first, thereafter class A. But to arise this problem, we have a keyword, super keyword, which helps us to execute super class members first. So nothing but parent class members first. So if you use super keyword in method overriding, the parents class methods executed first, thereafter child classes. So coming to constructors, so constructor is a block of code that initializes a newly created object. So you could see constructor example, I just gave public example, see public class Hyderabad, inside that I just gave a method called Hyderabad. So here you could find the class name and method name is similar, so constructors are same as class name. So you should always notice this, constructor name is always same as its class name, we might not forget this. Coming to types of constructors, so there are three kinds of constructors, preferably default, no arguments, parameterized. So default is nothing but the constructor we get defaultly, nothing but inbuilt, then we call it default constructor. Coming to no arguments, a constructor having no arguments inside the parameters, it is called no argumented constructor. Coming to parameterized, parameterized is nothing but having arguments inside the parameters. So coming to garbage collection in Java, so how garbage collection goes in Java, like when JVM starts up, it creates heap area, which is also known as runtime data area. This is where all the objects are created. So if you create a number of objects, we uses that, and we are done with that. If you are done with that, we should delete those objects to acquire more space. So in order to arrange those objects, we use JVM's help, like how I'll show you. But before that, we have to know, in C++, they don't support automatic garbage collection. However, in Java, garbage collection is automatic. So now we know that garbage collection in Java is automatic. Let's see how it performs. So how to request JVM for garbage collection? Nothing but use system.gc. GC stands for garbage collection. If you use this method, automatically JVM rises and clears the garbage collection in the Java coding. So you could see how garbage collection goes in Java. So as I told you before, I'm going to show you sample programs on inheritance. First you have single inheritance. So nothing but here A is an one class and B is one class. So here A data can be derived to B. So here this child class B deriving his parent class data. So how this single inheritance goes on? So you could see example, sample program over there. So I'm zooming in. So there you could see class1.java, thereafter class2.java. So class 1 is nothing but class A. Let's take public class 1. So I'm defining variables and methods inside that, and I just gave class 1 in system.out.println, I mean output function. Whereas coming to, I just gonna save this first class as class1.java. Thereafter coming to class2.java, I again define different variables like variable 2 and method 2. Next I put inside that class 2 and I saved this file as class2.java. There is coming to testing, I am gonna test this whether it works or not, but firstly I have to maintain main class. So I just wrote public class single inheritance, so PSV main, nothing but public static void main. I just mentioned all these before classes like class 1, class 2, and I just created a object inside that like class 2 c2 equals to new class 2. So I am specifying the object name here, so it takes this as an input. So I am accessing here c2.method1, c2.method2. so this is how my output gonna result. So to save this file you have to do java c single inheritance java dot, you should mention dot. Thereafter I should run this program, whether it can be IDE tool like NetBeans or you can run it on command prompt, and your output will be class 1, class 2, and this 0 stands for default values of your variables. And now coming to sample program on multi-level inheritance. I just told you before, multi-level is nothing but deriving a new class from base class which is already child class to the other base class. Nothing but take A as your grandfather, B as your father, and C as you. So your father deriving his data from his father and you are deriving data from your father. So this is the way multi-level inheritance work. So you could see there is an example. So just we have class 1 and class 2 before an example, so we are just continuing that. So here I just created class 3. So I just forgot to tell you, we use extends, which is a keyword to access other class. Like here I just use class 3 extends class 2, nothing but I am gonna extract all the data from class 2 here. So in this I am gonna check. So here I am creating a new object which is C3. This is how it's gonna work. Check. So we are using c3.method1, c3.method2, c3.method3. So this works and it accesses the data and it gives as an input class 1, class 2, class 3 as an output. Now coming to multiple inheritance, I just gave a program which is used through classes. If you compile this program, it doesn't work. Why? Because we can't implement multiple inheritance using classes. So that's why here comes the new word interface, which is also just like classes, but the methods inside the interface which were not implemented, it's just like abstract class. So it is used to multiple inheritance. So in the way we extend the classes using extends keyword, we use implements keywords using interfaces here. So I forgot to tell you, multiple inheritance is nothing but 2 parents, 1 single child. So here you could see the image. Thereafter coming to hierarchical inheritance, we have the sample program. You could see a single parent but multiple childs. So B gonna extract data from A and C also gonna extract data from A. So this is the way hierarchical inheritance works. Coming to hybrid inheritance, It's nothing but combination of multiple and multi-level. So we already know multiple and multi-level inheritance. This is a way. So A is a super parent class. Coming to B and C, both are child classes, but in case of D, B and C are parents. So it is a combination of multiple and multi-level inheritance. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna extending this session to part 2. So you gonna learn packages and abstract classes and more about this Java in this next session. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe. Please like and share.